Oh my God.
Sarah Silverman, you star in the film I Smile Back, and you were just nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Actress. So, first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Were you up that morning anticipating the nominations, or did you find out about them later?
No, I never know. And yeah, I was, my manager called me in shock, sobbing, and I thought somebody died. But it
It,
was
it, does, it have does it have special significance to you, being nominated by your fellow actors in the Screen Actors Guild?
hugely. I mean, I know people always say this, but it's because it's true. It's just, if this is, I mean, if I could pick one award show to be nominated, it would be by my peers, by actors. I mean, that is just the coolest.
And often at the SAG Awards, there are segments where the actors talk about their early experiences, how they became members of the guild. Do you remember your own sort of Screen Actors Guild origin story?
Ooh, gosh, you know, my first paying job in acting was Saturday Night Live, but I feel like back then it was AFTRA, before they were as one. And then I came out here and I think it was maybe a two-part Star Trek Voyager.
Now this film couldn't be any more different than of course SNL and Star Trek Voyager. It's a fairly emotional drama about Lainey, your character, who is a woman struggling with mental illness and at times drug abuse. How did you become? How did you first become involved in the film?
It was very serendipitous. It was I was on Howard Stern and talking about my own relationship with depression, and Amy Koppelman, who wrote the novel I Smile Back, was listening to Howard driving down the West Side Highway and just felt very connected to me and very just had an overwhelming feeling that I was the one for this part. And that doesn't happen to me very often. And she sent me the book and I read it, and she eventually adapted it into a script with her writing partner, Paige Dillon. And it was just kind of a long process that I didn't know would end in actually making a movie, to be honest, but I'm a process girl, and then when things come to fruition, it's always a exciting surprise and very I haven't had coffee. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Satisfying. Whew, that was a tough one.
You've done some dramatic work before this, but you are, primarily known for your comedy. What was it like, coming into this project and being thought of for this project? Where I mean, is this the most dramatic role you've taken on thus far?
Definitely. And hopefully the most dramatic role I ever do. It was really bleak, and I'm so happy that I did it, and so satiated by it and fortified by it. But a friend of mine who saw it said, no wonder you were calling me every night saying, I don't think I'm cut out for this, or I don't know if this is for me. It's really bleak. It was really heavy, and the experience was bleak and heavy because I'm not I'm not an experienced enough actor to be able to access my emotions and put them neatly back in between scenes. I'd like to become that one day. And I had told myself, between action and cut, it'll be heavy, and then we'll do bits and have fun and have inside jokes. And it wasn't that way, solely because, everyone I worked with was lovely. I love them. But because I don't have easy access to my emotions, and they're very tightly, compactly put in their place deep inside me. So when I have them to access. They all just kind of just sit on my lap in between scenes. You know, you always hear that Tom Hanks is such a pro. He's been doing this for so long. He can be the life of the party. And then they call action and he's Captain Phillips, you know. And I'm not able to do that yet. Nah, that's my whole answer. I thought I was mid-sentence, but I was at the end.
It's interesting when I hear some other I've heard other primarily comic actors talk about doing dramatic work. Sometimes they say that it's really not that different from the experience of doing a comic role. But it sounds like it was quite different an experience for you.
Yeah, I did a drama before, the great Sarah Polley, her movie, Take This Waltz, and Seth Rogen and I were both in it. We played siblings, and I remember when we were doing press, always we would get the question, like, is it, how is it going to do a drama? And our answer was always like, it's the same, it's you say the words honestly as if they're real, but this was different. This was different for me. It was because it was so bleak and tapped into such a dark place. I didn't have an easy time snapping out of it.
And another aspect of it that might have been challenging, mental illness can be, difficult to convey, since there's so much happening to a person under the surface. What kind of preparation did you do in advance to try and really get into Lainey's headspace?
That's true. It's almost all interior, and so she feels so much, but covers it expertly. So it is a kind of a fine line, and getting there was, to a degree, I had myself as a resource. I'm familiar with the kind of basic bones of of depression, and I had a lot of resources. The ironic, or I'm not sure what the right word is, thing about it is that I was able to use comedians as a source, because so many of my peers in comedy suffered very deep, dark depression. And also, I don't have experience with addiction. I actually don't drink at all. I don't like the taste of it. And but I'm surrounded by addiction. I'm embedded in the world of addiction as a comedian. So I had a lot of very giving, very generous friends who were able to take me really through a very detailed account of their own personal experience. And so it was very helpful, because otherwise I think it can really come off as something that you just see in a lot of movies and TV. Like I said, if I don't know very specific personal experiences beyond my own, then a lot of times I see movies and TV where I feel like you're just drawing from other movies and television. I mean, that watching someone detox or this and that, there are a lot of things that are trite about it, and some of it is trite because it's just the truth, but I'm sorry I keep cleaning my glasses. I can't keep them clean. I'm trying to come up with some kind of invention that will make me a billionaire. That is some kind of keep your glasses clean thing.
You'll be the next Joy, like in the film she made.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm very inspired by Joy. I as a woman, you are trying to keep moisturized, and it's the enemy of glasses. Anyway.
The process you mentioned of talking to people in your life and comedians who have dealt with addiction and depression, and between that and the process of actually making this film and playing this character, did you feel like you came away with a better understanding, like more empathy, more a greater sense of what that is like to go through?
Yeah, and I also am I'm interested in people, and I'm interested in everything in your home, actually. I think you have a tape player. I guess it's a CD player.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. It's a radio, tape, and CDs, I think.
That's amazing. Are you are you G-chatting me from actually another time? Sorry. What
No
was your
problem.
Oh, sorry, I'm disgusting on this live chat, by the way. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to like look into the camera now. Um, yeah, I have a hunger of no understanding people and what makes them tick and dynamics and I've learned so much in therapy and I've learned so much doing this movie and also in the process of promoting this movie because it's really just been me. It's a tiny movie. It's $400,000 to make, and we shot it in 20 days. And so I'm just trying to be the loud voice to let people know about it. But in the process of it, doing these Q&As, which is kind of my favorite thing, I've learned so much and reassessed what my own thoughts on the movie. You know, I mean, you know how they say what's the story of the guy who goes and looks at the same piece of art every day at the museum, and they go, why is he looking at the same thing? And I don't know the story well. I've heard it secondhand, but I love it. It's that he's changing. He's changing every day. So what he's seeing is changing. And I love thinking of that because I should love it so much that I actually Google the actual story and I can be articulate when telling it to others. But it's really been that for me. And it is that kind of movie where you can really talk about it. And I'm sick of myself, but I'm not too sick of talking about it. You know, there was a man at a Q&A who is a psychotherapist dealing mostly with addiction. And he talked about the high before the high, which I completely understood, but it blew my mind. The high before the high, that high when you have made that decision that you're gonna get high. And when I look back at the movie and I think, why would Lainey go see her father? She's sober. Her father is a big trigger for her. She has so much of her world of anxiety stems from him almost entirely. Why would she go visit him? Well, she went to visit him because that was the high before the high. She knew if she went to see him, she would be able to get high. She would be triggered and she would be able to justify falling off the wagon. Anyway, that's exciting for me. Maybe not as exciting for you, but so stuff like that, yeah, I love kind of redefining what a movie means to me with every new thing I learn, you know, even when it's something I did, even when it's done, you know.
Yeah, it's sort of like what one of my favorite quotes, from Roger Ebert, was that he called movies sort of an empathy machine, and when you watch a movie like this, when you make a movie like this, when you talk about a movie like this, it subjects you to these experiences and these points of view and perspectives that you really wouldn't have had before.
Yeah, it's true. I love gaining new perspective. Every degree my perspective changes, the whole world seems different. And you know, I love that about art and life, and I embrace it in I love it in Twitter. I mean, there is a point where I go, wow, it's an epidemic. Cops are killing Black teenagers. And then somebody said, no, you just know about it now. It's not some sudden thing, you know. Makes you think.
Yeah. And this film is directed by Adam Salke, who made several short films before this and one feature film before this. What was it like working with him on material like this, where you are going to such darker places than you're used to? What was that relationship like with that director?
It was really interesting for me because coming from comedy and being a comedian for so long, and I will always be a comedian, I have maybe an arrogance where I in a lot of ways, in a lot of aspects of my life, and I don't know if this is a good thing, I can feel that I know best. And this was kind of an opportunity to let go of that consciously, because it's a habit. It can become a habit in a way. And decide to just always go with him, you know. It got picked up in the press, so I said, but I watched, I have the DVD of The Shining, and it's got this awesome featurette, and in it, I watch it probably twice a year. And in it, Jack Nicholson says, when I have an idea about a scene and the director has another idea, I always go with the director, because then I don't become predictable. And, this experience was really for sure about letting go of my bag of tricks. Every comic has their bag of tricks, and many actors, in my opinion, and to be able to really let go of it and keep it in check and have people helping you with that. And then making the decision to always go with another's, the director's angle on it, was helpful to me. I think was helpful to my performance, because it wasn't coming from only the amount of things that I know.
And your primary relationship on screen is with Josh Charles as your husband, and the two of you, of course, have some of the most intense scenes in the film together. What was it like working with him?
It was great. This whole experience has been pretty incredible for me, and I also have a new understanding of things that I would tend to roll my eyes over when I would hear actors say them. And one of them is this, which is very true. And now I understand, which is that he was so generous. And I think I would roll my eyes when actors would say that, because I didn't understand it. And that is probably why we all roll our eyes about things. If you stop and think about it, it might be because it's something we don't understand. But now I understand it. He was so generous. He, of course, is a beautiful, brilliant actor, but he and Tommy Sadowski both were so concerned with my experience and making it as possible for me, and doing everything they could to help me. And when I expected them to really be, of course, it's a team effort and you're reacting to each other, but they were so not, they were as concerned about helping me with my performance as their own performances. And I needed it, and I appreciated it so much. And I love those guys. I love those guys.
In addition to those actors, you're also working with the two actors playing Lainey's children, Shane Coleman and Skylar Gartner. What is it like working with such young actors, especially when the subject matter is this kind of intense and often very mature?
Yeah, it's hard seeing them at the screenings and stuff. They would come, but then they couldn't watch. It's not, it's not something they can watch. But for me, it was wonderful, and it was that was a really natural thing for me to be able to be Lainey with those kids, because I don't have the same set of experiences and anxieties that she has that informs that relationship. But I have a desperate love of kids because I don't have them. And that was kind of a key, because I was able to just love them to pieces, and love them with a kind of off-putting desperation that I think was real in Lainey's case as well. She loves them so much, but she has so much anxiety over ruining them that not only does it become a self-fulfilled prophecy, but energy is actually real. It's not just like a California crystal thing. It's matter. It's science, and that energy, I understand that anxiety, energy, and be as an adult and as a child and receiving it as well, and it affects you. It affects a child, and so it becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. Her intense anxiety over ruining her kids.
Well, I want to congratulate you on the film and the SAG nomination again, and thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much, and I'm obsessed with everything in the background of your home. A lot of moisturizers, a lot of medicines. The tape CD radio player is something that is fascinating to me.
That's actually my family home. I'm it's
Are you home for the holidays?
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. And thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.